I try to be a nice guy, I really do. But comments like this just break me. Now, we're not going to forget the simple fact that I said this is just my own personal thoughts and opinions. I'm not going to tell people what or what not to do. So let's just analyse this first of all. The striker drone for 1% damage. This, I mean, I can see a lot of skill build players coming up with going, oh my god, it's so OP. It's just 1% base skill damage. So on a normal skill build, even at expertise 20, that striker drone is going to get maybe a total of like 6 to 8% total increase in output. For the amount of resources you put into it, not worth it. That striker drone is going to get maybe a total of like 6 to 8% total increase in output.
That striker drone is going to get maybe a total of like 6 to 8% total increase in output.
Do we get it? A total of 6 to 8% total increase in output. Now, you can fully watch the background footage if you want, but there is going to be a spreadsheet on screen. I tested all of my damage on my skill build at skill tier 5 and skill tier 6. I then swapped out my memento backpack for a wyvern backpack with tech support. You can see me doing this now. I then retested skill tiers 5 and 6. I then went and upgraded my fucking turret to expertise 10. I'm not going to waste resources, well, exotics on this, simply because it's damn easy to bloody calculate. So here we have it. Skill tier 6 with my normal build with Memento, I was hitting 126,918. 0 stacks. Skill tier 5, same build, 115,635. The difference here is 11,283 damage. That's 9.76%. At skill tier 6 with tech support, active 177,311. Skill tier 5, same scenario, 161,550. This is a 9.76% difference, and that equals 15,761. I then upgraded my turret to expertise 10, ran the test again. What was 126,918 went to 132,558. Skill tier 5, 121,277. Is a 9.3% difference, so we've actually lost damage technically on the scale. And then when it's the same with tech support, you can read the number yourself. I then doubled it in a calculator to see what damage we would be getting at skilled expertise 20, and it's 138,198. Guess how much of an increase this is? It's literally a pube over 8%. Weird. What was it I said again? That striker drone is going to get maybe a total of like 6 to 8% total increase in output. So no lie or misinformation there, and so far you're just being a fucking idiot. So yeah, that's turret and drone covered off because they scale the exact same. Technically speaking, Oxidizer does as well. However, I've got a slight issue with testing this, simply just due to the fact that mine's at plus 20 already. You can already see my plus 15 Artificer Hive. Don't worry, I'm going to get to that. So yeah, I can't really test it. The only difference as to why I would say Oxidizer is better / worse is one, simply due to the fact that typically if you oxy things, they tend to run out of it. So it doesn't really matter how much you do. You're going to get like 4 ticks at best, really, unless you can keep the Oxidizer on them, which is why I would say to spawn trap. The main reason why it would be more worthwhile is simply due to the fact that Oxidizer scales with damage to armor and damage to targets out of cover. It's subject to so many more multipliers, which means if you do put it to plus 20, you're getting a lot more than you would be on a turret or drone. Oxidizer for 1% damage is kind of a double-edged sword. It is really handy. You can get a hell of a lot of damage out of it, and it is pretty damn good considering Oxidizer is like a stupidly OP skill if you can spawn trap with it. One flip side to this is the more damage you put into it, if something goes wrong, you are dead quicker. I mean, you basically one-shot yourself with it anyway, so I suppose tomato, right? So that covers Assault Drone, Turret, and Oxidizer. Next we have Firestarter and Stinger Hive. This is... why am I doing this to myself? Why do I entertain these people? Right, Firestarter chem. Let's have a recap about what I actually bloody said, shall we? Firestarter chem. This is actually really good, especially if you're going for an Eclipse build. I would prefer if it was more burn damage rather than the initial burst damage, although it is pretty damn handy. It does make using Eclipse builds on higher levels definitely more viable, especially if you then start using it in multiplayer, although it can backfire if you then have to utilize or help out lower level players. You just start one-shotting everything on lower difficulties, which means the fire then cannot spread. Right, so the comment about the Firestarter chem. It's technically not untrue, it's more of just a dumb fucking statement. I stated in the video that it doesn't affect the burn. I would prefer if it did affect the burn. However, Expertise 12, Firestarter chem, can't kill elites. The actual burn damage on this is a grand, lovely total of 339,562. The burst from the initial explosion from setting the chem off did 785,238. If I upgrade this from 12 to 15, my burn damage will stay the same. Mentioned this in the video. 339,562. It will stay the same. However, the burst from setting the chem off will go to 806,461. This is good for two reasons. One, the more the burst does, the less work the fire has to do, which means I can get a quicker and easier spread. Two, enemies that originally wouldn't die now fucking die. So yeah, like as you can see, the burn is still the same, 339,562. Targets died this time though. Weird that. Oh, and it spread, so it's now come back to them, it's still going. How peculiar. Increasing your Firestarter chem, if you are partial to Eclipse build, is very good. It is absolutely bloody worth it. It's all just a matter of perspective and understanding what else your build is capable of and how it interacts with varying different things. So yeah, this is fun. Anyway, up next we have the Stinger Hive. Now I kind of have to give the guy a break on this one because I didn't really word this very well. However, it's very, very apparent when you actually look at the skills and what expertise gives them. Fire Sticky, for example, says burn damage. Guess what that increases? Firestarter Chem says damage. Guess what that increases? Stinger Hive just says damage, which means it's going to be the actual little sparkly fairy things hitting them. That damage is going to be increased. However, same thing is going to happen as much as the turret, the drone, the Oxidizer. You're not actually going to get that much out of it. Maybe 8%. You should get roughly 8%, in fact. The bleed, however, he is correct, will not increase. But this doesn't change the fact that you have maybe a 8% increase in your damage output with the Stinger Hive. So, no, still not really worth it. And there's one thing that I should point out here, because he keeps saying, like, oh, you get like a full skill tiers of damage at Expertise 20. You don't. At all. You just don't. You can test it. If you took everything from skill tier 0 to skill tier 1, and then tested it again at skill tier 0 with Expertise 20, you will get a full skill tiers worth out of it, because there's nothing to multiply off. The moment you start adding in other multipliers, you get maybe 80% of a skill tier. For some weird reason, the expertise do not scale with other multipliers. They are just a flat out bonus on top, which, yeah, is not that great. So you don't get a skill tier out of it. The more multipliers you actually put in, the less you get out of it due to the returns in scale. With oxidizers and the sheer amount of amplifiers you can put in, you maybe get like 40% of a skill tier out of it. That's it. So you'll get a skill tier out of it if you're at skill tier 0 for all of your builds. However, for all the ones that I said aren't particularly worth it, you're typically going to be at skill tier 6, at which point, no, you get like an 8% increase. Okay, yeah, more damage is more damage. I will not argue that. So if you have the resources, fine. But generally speaking, no, not actually worth it. Now, up last, we have the Artificer Hive, and this possibly will be a source of contention. Because, I mean, technically, again, he's not wrong. It's only like a 2% increase. Plus 10 is 1%, plus 2 is, well, plus 20 is 2% increase. The thing is, it's the way in which the Artificer Hive works. And you also need to think big picture. If you're doing it solo and you're only using a turret with an Artificer Hive and you do this regularly, then no, I wouldn't actually recommend it. However, if on a few occasions you're doing, I don't know, a legendary and everyone's running a skill build and you just had the bright idea, I know, I'll put Artificer Hive on. It refreshes the duration, it heals, it gives a damage buff to all skills within its radius. Then that 2% increase for one turret goes to a 2% increase for 4 turrets and 3 drones potentially. So what goes from being a 2% increase is now suddenly a hefty increase in damage across the board for everyone. Okay, yes, it's only going to be 2% increase per skill, but if you've got at least 7 other skills roaming around, that's 14% increase in total output throughout all skills. 2% each. 7 skills. 7 times 2 is 14. So the total output of your entire team is going to increase by 14%. This is absolutely nothing to scoff at, especially considering you're going to be refreshing the duration, healing them, just generally improving their overall output. Individually, probably not. No, not worth it. And there are other things you can do with it as well. For example, again, Oxidizer. Scales with everything. So the more you can put into it, even if it is just 2%, due to all the multipliers you get so much more out of it. So that 2% suddenly becomes, even in solo, oh my god, so much worth it. Yeah. So let's reevaluate. No, not misinformation on that bit. No, turret and drone, you're wrong. Oxidizer, you're still Firestarter, you're dumb. Stinger, partly my bad for probably not wording it correctly. And you can now consider the ball picked back up. If you don't know, ask. Don't give comments like this. You're just going to get a video like this. So now either I'm owed an apology or a woney run to replace the resources that I've just wasted, proving you wrong. Oh, Jesus. Now, there is one that I will admit, just because I've never tested it, I've never used it, and I had a few people message me saying that's not quite how the Defender drone works. They've ran me through it. It turns out that at plus 20 expertise, you don't actually get a 20% increase in damage reduction. It actually ends up being like 10% or just under 10%. So for that one, I will fully hold my hands up and say I was wrong. But it's not hard to say, hey, that you might want to recheck this. It's not wrong. Rather than going liar, misinformation, and then dribbling in my comment section with absolute nonsense that you yourself don't even understand. Right. Sorry for the salty video. But, yeah, I had to kind of explain myself on this one. Have fun. Good luck. Don't die. It's bad for the squirrels.